When you think about youth volleyball, what really separates a good program from a truly great one? You know, it's not just about the final score. It's about a philosophy, a way of thinking that builds the whole athlete. So let's dive in and break down what that really means. The legendary coach Marv Dunphy just hit the nail on the head with this one. Volleyball isn't a solo performance. It's more like a conversation between teammates on the court. You can't just go out there and do your own thing. And that core idea, that connection comes first, that's the foundation for everything we're about to explore. So where do we even begin? Well, we start with the most important piece of the entire puzzle, the person. Before they're a setter or a hitter, they're a young person, and great coaching gets that. It recognizes that this is the real foundation we have to build on.
And let's be clear, this isn't just a nice suggestion. This is a direct guideline from Volleyball Canada. A coach's #1 job, before anything else, is to create a safe space for these kids, physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's the absolute non-negotiable starting point for any program that's worth its salt.
Building on that safety net, the Volleyball Development Matrix points to these 3 core needs that every single athlete has. First, they need to feel a real connection with their teammates and their coaches. They also need to know that people genuinely care about them as people. And when you have those 2 things, that's where they find the courage to go out there, to try new things, to fail, and most importantly, to grow.
And this really wraps up the whole philosophy perfectly. We're talking about holistic coaching. It's not about treating players like interchangeable parts in a machine. Nope, it's a deep commitment to developing the entire person, both on and off the court. And this is the approach that builds mature, self-aware players who don't just understand the game, they understand themselves.
Okay, so with that person-first philosophy locked in, let's open up the playbook. How do we actually take these big ideas and make them happen in a practice, during a drill, or in just a quick moment of feedback?
We all know communication is everything, but it's so much more than just what you say out loud. I mean, get this. Some studies suggest that more than half of a coach's message is completely nonverbal. A sigh, a slump of the shoulders, an excited high five, those things can speak way louder than any verbal instruction ever could. And speaking of instruction, let's look at a core skill in action. Here we can see the 3 key parts of a block. You've got the ready position in A, then that full extension up in B, and, this is so crucial, the balanced landing in C, ready for whatever happens next. Teaching fundamentals like this isn't just about being effective, it's about being safe and preventing injuries down the road.
So, what happens when a player messes up that block? This is where a great coach really shines. The whole point is to be a guide, not a critic. You give them useful feedback right away, you keep your cool, and you frame it as feed forward. You're not dwelling on the last mistake, you're totally focused on making the next attempt a success.
I absolutely love this quote because it just cuts through all the noise. What's the best way to get better at volleyball? Well, it's to play volleyball. Doing isolated drills over and over can create these weird, artificial skills. But training in a game-like flow, pass, set, hit, that's what makes sure the skills they're learning will actually show up in a real match.
All right, foundation, check. Playbook, check. Now, let's talk about game day. This is where all those principles we've talked about get put to the ultimate test in the heat of competition.
Okay, I know this table might look a little complicated, but stick with me. Tournament tiebreakers are really all about one thing: fairness. It's a clear, data-driven system that takes any guesswork out of it, and that teaches athletes an important lesson, that structure and rules are what make fair play possible.
But competition isn't just about logical rules and stats, is it? It's an emotional pressure cooker. So what happens when those emotions start to boil over?
Well, actions have consequences, and this rule from Volleyball Canada is a massive example. Disrespecting an official doesn't just get you a talking to, it can cost your team a huge 5-point penalty. It sends a crystal clear message that respect for the game and everyone involved is totally non-negotiable.
And all of this brings us to the bigger picture. Youth sports aren't just about one season or one tournament. It's about setting an athlete on a journey that hopefully can last their entire life. This development model basically gives us a roadmap for that journey. You see, it starts with just making activity fun. Then it moves into learning the actual skills. And yeah, for some, it might lead to training to win at the highest levels. But look at that final stage, active for life. That's the real destination we want for everyone. For those young athletes who are in that learning to train phase, this recommended ratio is just critical. 70% of their time should be spent in training and only 30% in competition.
It just makes it so clear that the real lasting development, that's what happens on the practice court, not just during the games.
And that right there really gets to the heart of all this. Winning is fun, it's great, but it's a short-term thing. The real victory is when a player leaves your program with a solid set of skills and a deep-seated passion that keeps them active and loving the sport for the rest of their lives.
So, let's wrap this all up. What's the big takeaway here? It's about understanding what a coach's true legacy is. And spoiler alert, it isn't measured in trophies.
The incredible Kerry Walsh Jennings reminds us that those tough moments, the losses, the struggles, those are often the most valuable lessons. A great coach helps an athlete see that adversity isn't a roadblock. It's actually a tool that can make them stronger, not just for the game, but for life.
And then the legendary coach Russ Rose adds another crucial layer: personal accountability. The best programs teach this mindset. It's not just about what the coach does for you, it's about empowering players to take ownership of their own journey and their own improvement, one practice at a time.
And we'll end on this simple but really profound thought. Years from now, these athletes, they might not remember the exact scores from their youth tournaments, but you know what they will remember? The stories. The story of how their coach made them feel. The story of the friendships they made. The story of overcoming challenges together. And that story, that is a coach's true legacy.